Hey everybody, Sam Pedro back today with another book review. I just finished reading the book George Lucas' Life about the legendary director and creator of Star Wars, and I'm excited to talk about it today. I read 2 to 3 books a week and I'm trying to do videos about as many of the books that I read. So if you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Your support would mean a lot. So today I thought I'd do things a little bit differently. I'm going to be answering 8 questions that were sent in by you, my loyal viewers. And by the end, after I answer these questions, hopefully you'll learn a little bit more about George Lucas and about Star Wars and about whether or not this would be a good book for you to read. All right, let's get started. So, question 1. Is this book really about George Lucas's life, or is this just another excuse to talk about Star Wars? Yes, absolutely. This is another excuse to talk about Star Wars. And I think it's really hard to divorce Star Wars from George Lucas's life. And I was really surprised as I started reading the book how quickly we move through George Lucas's youth, and all of a sudden he is a film student at USC, where he begins making nationally recognized student films. And then it briefly talks about him making the film American Graffiti, and then the most of the book is about him shooting and writing Star Wars, and then a little bit about Indiana Jones. Okay, question number 2. How did George Lucas go about writing Star Wars? Great question. When I read books about people who create things, I love reading about their creative process and what they do to create these monumental works. And so George Lucas, he wanted to create a superhero in space story, similar to Flash Gordon. And so he started out with a notebook and he just started writing names and locations, and he would give, brief descriptions to a name. And so Luke Skywalker was there at the very beginning, and he was Prince of Bebers. And Han Solo was also there at the beginning, and he was leader of the Hubble people. And as he started collecting, these groups of names, he started creating this mini universe of characters. And then he would just start plopping those characters into different narratives and into different situations, eventually kind of coming up with a story. And in its early stages, Star Wars was known as Journal of the Whills. Some days he would be working at it for 8 hours, for weeks at a time, and the story really never was finished. Even when he started filming the first Star Wars movie, he was changing the plot and storylines as he was going. It was never really locked in. All right, moving on. Question number 3. How did they make Chewbacca's voice? That's an easy one. So Chewbacca's voice is a combination of 4 bears, a lion, a seal, and a walrus that was stuck at the bottom of a dry pool. All right, next question. Question number 4. Who is the Thomas Edison of the modern film industry? That was a weirdly specific question. And believe it or not, the director Peter Jackson actually called George Lucas the Thomas Edison of the modern film industry. And this was a big highlight for me in the book. I had no idea the role that George Lucas played in developing and influencing technology use in film. And I knew Star Wars was a monumental film, that, an industry-defining film, but there was so much more that George Lucas did that I just had no idea. Pixar is an example. So Pixar had its beginnings at Lucasfilm, and the Pixar computer was created there. And all of a sudden they're developing these digitally animated movies, and George Lucas didn't really see the potential of a digitally animated movie, and so he sold it to Steve Jobs. But regardless, the technology was created under his tutelage. And George Lucas had another company called Industrial Light and Magic, and this company, which was also housed under Lucasfilm, just pushed the envelope for what CGI could do. And so Tom Hanks in the movie Forrest Gump, he's digitally manipulated into these pictures with him with the president. That was all Industrial Light and Magic. Terminator, Jurassic Park, Jumanji, The Mummy, all of these groundbreaking films and their special effects was by Industrial Light and Magic. Another company is THX. It's a sound company. You may have seen that at the beginning of a movie, but this revolutionized the movie-going experience, and it largely came about because George Lucas influenced movie theaters to increase the quality of their sound systems to better help that movie-going experience, and that all was a result of George Lucas. All right, question number 5. When an artist creates something and releases it as final, does that artist have the right to go back and alter it? I always thought it was a weird thing that George Lucas did this. And for those of you who don't know, 1977, Star Wars A New Hope is released, but multiple times throughout the years after its release, George Lucas has altered the original movie, changing sounds, cutting scenes, making little edits. And in the mid 90s, he re-released the 3 original Star Wars movies, and he digitally altered them quite significantly. He was adding in stormtroopers and adding in creatures and characters that were not in the original movie. And fans weren't fans of this. They had fallen in love with the original Star Wars movie, and why would the director 20 years, 10, 15 years after the release change it? The book helped me see George Lucas's position better. Not that I totally agree with it, but it talked about how when he was making the first Star Wars movie, he had secured this budget, but Fox Film Studios just did not believe in the Star Wars project, and they pressured him, and so he was forced to cut corners. And at the end of the day, he felt like only 25% of the movie he envisioned was actually made. And that's kind of what justified him to go and alter it when opportunities arose to better fit his vision for what the movie was. And he even made the comment, "I'm sorry that all these fans fell in love with an unfinished movie." Okay, question number 6. Did George Lucas write himself into the Star Wars movies? So Mark Hamill, the actor who played Luke Skywalker, felt that Luke Skywalker, the character, was based on George Lucas, that he wrote it about himself. And so a lot of the mannerisms which Luke Skywalker has is actually based off of George Lucas. Okay, moving on. So question number 7, this will be a quick one. Did Steven Spielberg make any money off of the Star Wars movies? Yes, so Steven Spielberg made over $40 million from the first Star Wars movie. So while Star Wars was being made, him and George Lucas were making bets. Spielberg was going to make this movie called E.T., and they were betting about which movie would do better at the box office. And they ended up just trading 2.5% of their revenue share. And so whatever E.T. would make, George Lucas would get 2.5% of Spielberg's cut, and vice versa. And obviously, Star Wars did much better than E.T., and it's netted him over $40 million. All right, final question is, did you like this book? Yeah, I really loved this book. Learning about George Lucas was way more interesting than I thought it would be. He's a very complicated man in so many ways, and the way he's, structured and ordered his life really is, he's made it so his life, so he can do absolutely anything he wants artistically, and no one can really influence that. And I do kind of admire that. He knew what he wanted, and regardless of what critics or fans say, he would go out and do it. And the reason he's worth $5 billion today is he invested in himself and in his vision. So that was today's video. Hopefully you liked this format of a Q&A. I thought it would be a good way to kind of show some of the things I took away and the highlights from the book. Go check out this book if you're a fan of Star Wars. I loved it. And yeah, I hope you have a great day.